Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And today guys, I want to talk about the biggest mistake I've made in Galaxy of Heroes, which was having no direction for my first few months coming back into the game. I'm going to show you guys some a graphic that I made, kind of in my squads really, but take you through my steps of where I got to and how I finally developed a plan of action to get my roster back on track. So let's dive into our video guys. Before we do that, you know the drill. We must first pay homage to our king, Wampa. Wampa wants Relic 8. He needs you guys to smash that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment. Let's make sure we get to 5,000 subscribers on the channel, guys, and Wampa will hit Relic 8, and I will host a special live stream just for everybody to watch me take Wampa to Relic 8 in its full glory. All right, guys, so the biggest mistake. No direction is your biggest mistake. Not having a direction, not staying focused. When I came back into the game in April of 2020, this was my arena team, and they were Gear 11 and Gear 12s because they weren't all 7 stars at this point. I think Nihilus and Sith Empire Trooper and Thrawn were Gear 12, and Scion and Traya were not yet 7 stars, so they were Gear 11. Again, I quit I quit before relics were a thing, and I quit before, I quit before relics were a thing, and Traya was the newest character in the game at that point. As far as like raids go, she was like the best, meta character in the game. So I came back and I saw that, Jedi Knight Revan was in the game, who I was so excited to get. I'd wanted to get him when I was, before I'd quit. And so I started farming for Jedi Knight Revan. Just like almost immediately started farming Jedi Knight Revan. And I was doing that for a little bit, and then my guild was like, hey, Phil, you should farm Geonosians. It helps us get Watch Shards. It'll be good for your account. They're good GAC. And so, me being new to the game, I was like, sure, I'll farm Geonosians. That'll help. And that was a huge mistake. Not farming Geonosians was the mistake. The mistake was I didn't finish Revan. I never got back around to finishing Revan at the time. And so I went and built Geonosians. And I got them to Gear 12, which is fine, right? Like, that's not a bad thing. But it didn't really help. It helped my guild get Watch Shards, but it didn't really help my account in any significant way. So then after I got Geonosians, I was like, hey, I can get Padme, right? Like, that'll be pretty easy. So I got Padme. I already had a good Kenobi. So Ahsoka and Anakin, I leveled up some to make sure I could use them with Padme herself. But I then was looking at my account, and I was like, oh, I guess I could go back and finish Revan, or I could just go and farm for General Skywalker, right? That I kind of had this, diplomatic solution to my, gas problem. No, but I mean, that was the, you see, like, oh, Phil, like, you had a vision here, you were going in the right direction. So I was starting to trend there, but I was so close. I mean, I think my mission and like needed 50 more shards or something. Like, she was way too close and just was sitting there. So I then had my, Padme. I was working towards General Skywalker, and I was moving pretty well in that direction. And then Jedi Knight Luke got released. And Jedi Knight Luke was kind of my cult hero growing up. I grew up with the original trilogy before I saw any of the prequels. Even for how young I am for some of you people, I still, like, the original trilogy is what I grew up with. So Luke's green lightsaber to me was the coolest thing ever. So, like, when he got released, I was like, yes, I have to get Luke. And so literally the day he was released, I took Commander Luke, Chewbacca, and Han Solo all to Relic 1 right away. Not exaggerating either. Like, I had the gear to take them to Relic 1 right away. I was all in on Jedi Knight Luke. So again, I completely stopped my General Skywalker farm and just completely was invested in Jedi Knight Luke. And to be fair, I think the only character I needed for that was C-3PO, who I at least could get with my Ewoks. But everything else I had set and ready to go to get Jedi Knight Luke. So I didn't really have a problem with that, right? That I felt pretty confident I could get Jedi Knight Luke very easily. So you think, oh, Phil, you have direction now. Like, I should have finished something by this point. I had yet to finish the Jedi Knight Revan. I didn't finish General Skywalker. I'm not in the middle. I'm going for Jedi Knight Luke now. And then Sith Eternal and Jedi Master Luke were released in the game. And from looking at their requirements, I think for me, the difference was I needed a 7-star Mon Mothma and a 7-star Chupio, and they were both hard nodes. Whereas Sith Eternal, I needed Marauder and Piet to 7-star. Excuse me. We don't edit that out. You guys know the drill here. I needed Piet and Marauder, and they were easier for me to get than Chupio and Mon Mothma. So I went with Sith Eternal, and I already had my Empire. Like, my Empire was in really good shape by this point. So then finally, I developed my plan. And again, this is just a rough guideline of I got Sith Eternal, I got General Skywalker, I actually got Revan before I got Jedi Master Luke, and then finally went after Jedi Master Luke and got my Executor. So eventually I developed this plan. But I could have been at a point where my plan could have looked very different if I had just completed some of these things along the way. And the mistake I fell into was by skipping around, I cost myself all of this time I could have focused into other things. And eventually it all kind of came full circle where, I was able to get these things in quicker succession. But imagine if I had been able to get Revan earlier. And I've got a good Jedi Knight Revan team, which increases my resources. And that's why my farming guide leads you in these directions where it's going to give you the right stuff at the right time, that you're building squads, you're taking advantage of those areas where you can double dip. Because, excuse me, oh man, the biggest mistake that players make, the biggest mistake that I made was just not having any direction. You're just kind of aimlessly farming stuff, aimlessly moving through the game, and it really, really set me back. I really wish if I could go back in time, I would love to see what my account would look like if right away I had a plan, if right away I was focused on something. And so that focus is something that is so important. And that's why in my regular thing here, guys, that's why I have these characters favorited. So that way I have blinders on, that I don't come down here and see my Iden Versio and think to myself, man, I really want Iden. Like, she's not in the plans right now. I need to stay focused on what the plans are. Because otherwise you get these blinders on and all of a sudden armor is Relic 7 before I know it because I got too intense. So if that, oh man, sorry guys, it is late at night. But hopefully this helps you guys. I think it's important for me to show you guys my mistakes as much as it is to show you my successes, because you don't learn from your successes, you learn from your mistakes. And I think what I learned here was, number one, the 3 biggest takeaways you're going to get from this. So number one, not that farming things for your guild is bad, but understand that when you farm something for your guild, if there's not as much personal gain for you, it could still hurt your guild. That had I built Jedi Knight Revan, I would have had a better team to be able to do better in different game modes that would have net my guild more resources, got them more stuff that I could have gotten Geonosians faster. So takeaway number one. Takeaway number two, finish your farm. One of the biggest mistakes that I keep saying biggest mistakes, like there's so many, but one of the biggest issues you'll see in an account is someone who doesn't finish their farms. That they are close to something and just never get it over the line. And then finally, guys, once you hit a certain point, you need to be committed. That I needed to at some point just look at myself in the mirror and say, yes, we're committed to Jedi Knight Luke, or we're committed to, and finally I did that with Sith Eternal, where I said I'm committed to Sith Eternal and then these characters. So again, guys, that's the video. I do apologize, I've been yawning a little bit. It is late at night, but I want to get this video out there for you guys so you can watch it. At the time of recording, it is 12:50, so I am rocking and rolling right now. Again, guys, like and subscribe, comment down below, and hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you guys see that, I made this mistake where I was jumping all over the place, and hopefully it helps you guys avoid that mistake in the future. As always, guys, I love every single one of you. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.